Steven Portnoy is standing by from ABC News. Steven's a terrific reporter and has covered everything related to the news and all of the stuff that we need to know for years and years and years. ABC News National Correspondent in Washington. The House can't get out of their way, Stephen. We think there's going to be a preliminary vote on Jim Jordan tomorrow. Who knows when they'll have a speaker? What is the Senate doing?
Well, good morning. Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, was in Tel Aviv yesterday leading a bipartisan delegation. For a time, they dove into a bomb shelter when rockets were fired in the direction of Tel Aviv. He described it as an emblem of the terror that Israelis feel every day with rockets raining down. But Schumer, having met with the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, said that the Senate stands ready to vote on an aid package for Israel, replenishing Iron Dome, providing other munitions and other support as soon as it's sent to Capitol Hill by Biden. Now, that won't happen today, it won't happen tomorrow, not this week, maybe not next week, but soon. And as soon as the package is prepared and delivered to Capitol Hill, Chuck Schumer promises a bipartisan vote in favor, even if the House of Representatives has not yet elected a speaker. Now that, as you mentioned, is a process that's unfolding before our eyes. And tomorrow at midday, we expect a roll call vote being pushed by Jim Jordan, the Republican nominee for Speaker, who does not have the votes necessary to become Speaker. In a secret ballot late last week, 55 Republicans said they would not vote to support Jim Jordan, and he can only afford to lose 4. So what's his strategy? To try to have that roll call vote and apply public pressure, a white-hot spotlight on the Republican members who are not voting for their party's nominee. It's interesting because a week ago, Jim Jordan said that no vote should happen on the floor without 218 supporters.
Well, in my words, not yours, this is Jim Jordan speak. This is what Jim Jordan does. What I said last week? No. It's what I said this week. And that'll play out tomorrow. Let me go back to the Senate for a second. The Senate doesn't control the money the way the House controls the money. We've heard on and off for the past week since this horror in Israel that there's a special exemption carved out for Israel that aid would continue in time of need. What can you tell us about that, and what is the Senate's role in that?
Well, the Senate can send to the House money that appropriates or a bill that appropriates funds. So that is something that Chuck Schumer says he's intent on doing as soon as the package is requested by the White House. And what's interesting is it's been suggested that this package would not just include aid for Israel, but also aid for Ukraine, possibly additional support for Taiwan, and maybe also funding for border security, obviously a top domestic concern.
The mood in Washington on the House side has to be embarrassment on some level, or am I giving them too much credit?
Well, no, I think it's I think it's universally acknowledged as an embarrassment, not just to the Republican Party, but also, frankly, to the country. And the idea that for now we're going to a third full week of a House Republican leadership crisis, with the Republicans unable to rally around a single individual as Speaker of the House, we've never seen it before. And every day that passes it makes you wonder how the House will dig itself out of this morass. There are a couple of options. One includes, obviously, some Republican emerging as the unanimous choice. I think it's the least likely at this point, because if that person had been identified, they would have been by now. Another option includes, it's also a remote possibility of Democrats in some way helping the Republicans out of this. It's not clear exactly what kind of shape that would take, but it could involve a small number of Democrats sitting out a vote or otherwise voting present to allow the Republican choice to emerge. I think that's unlikely at this stage. And then the other possibility, which is perhaps even more remote than that, is a small number of Republicans voting with the Democrats to choose a speaker, possibly as sort of a coalition government. We've never seen that certainly not to my knowledge, in American political history, where people would be willing to cross party lines to support a speaker of the other party. But anything is possible now. And, one other possibility is for the House to empower the Speaker pro tempore, Patrick McHenry, Kevin McCarthy's choice, to hold the gavel temporarily as a speaker who would serve in a ceremonial role that would continue to allow the House to work its will.
Speaking of Mr. McCarthy, he has done more media in the last few days than a teenager who's trying to become a social media influencer.
I'm glad you noticed that. I noticed the same.
Yeah, and he's trying to remain relevant and at the ready. Is there any chance he'd be reinstated because they don't have anybody else?
It is possible. It is possible, as much as all these other possibilities are possible. Look, Kevin McCarthy lost 8 Republicans. Is it possible that number has grown? Yes. Is it possible it's shrunk? Sure. Is it possible that if Kevin McCarthy were to be nominated for Speaker and they could work out some deal with the Democrats and maybe 10 or 12 Democrats would vote present or sit out, that McCarthy could be reelected to the speakership? That's also possible.
It's a remarkable story, and Stephen, I don't know what to say to you other than I don't know how you do it, but I'm glad you're doing it because you're doing a great job of it.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you being on. Steven Portnoy, Washington, ABC News. Nick, let me double back to you for a second. So the mayor is going to the border, and he's taking a couple aldermen with him. Is he still angry? Because you might remember this clip that we had from maybe a week ago when this whole trip to the border came up. This is Mayor Johnson.
We still have public safety that we have to address. We still have the unhoused that we have to address. I still have a budget that I have to address. And I'm doing all of that with a black wife raising 3 black children on the west side of the city of Chicago. I am going to the border as soon as possible.
Yeah. Now, I checked again. I checked again this morning. I have a white wife, white children. I don't know what that has to do with anything. And white grandchildren. I got a couple of white cousins. And one of my cousins is here with his lovely wife, and she's also white. Right. That has nothing to do with anything. But if we're announcing race, maybe we all need to announce it.
Yeah.